Hey everybody, welcome to My Usual Me and welcome back to the channel where today we're talking about Baldur's Gate 3 and the outrage that the community has with the new system that Larian is implementing on release as far as character creation goes, the nerfs that are being seen behind the dwarf and the half-elf, and why I know why they're doing it. And I've got the receipts to prove it, so we're going to go ahead and give you that information. You can do with it as you wish, but I'm going to show you what we've been playtesting on in Dungeons and Dragons with Wizards of the Coast for the last year, and why I believe that it is this sudden change is not so sudden. All right, so if you don't know, with the high elf or with the half elf rather, you get +2 to your charisma, and then you're able to add a +1 to whatever two ability scores that you'd like. And then what you would do is you would go over to your class and you would pick your class, and then your bonus would be your class abilities would be high in the areas where they were most appropriate, and then you could take away and add to whatever you wanted within reason. But it's not that way anymore. Now it's strictly class based, and you're going to be able to have +2 points to your abilities on one skill, and then +1 to another skill to add. What that does with the half elf and the shield dwarf is it takes away the extra point that they would normally get. Like a shield dwarf would get +2 strength, +2 constitution. The half elf would get their +2 charisma, and then the +1 in each of the two scores that they wanted to add to it. So they're getting nerfed by 1 point each of those races, and people are upset about that. Well, this is not something sudden that Larian has decided to do just arbitrarily out of their the badness of their heart, so to speak. This is something that's been worked on by Wizards of the Coast for a long time, and I'm going to show you right now what I'm talking about. So if you go to D&D Beyond, you have what they call Unearthed Arcana, and what that is the playtest that has been going on since August of last year, and there have been 6 iterations here so far. Playtest number 6 just got finished, and so the survey, what you do is you go and you read the information and you playtest the information, and then you can take a survey, and you can go ahead and you can tell Wizards of the Coast what you think. Well, their very first one from last year in August was character origins, and right there they have you have the ability to build your own background, and they right here say the ability scores, when you determine your character's ability scores, choose 2 of them, increase one by 2 and the other by 1. So this has been well in the works for a long time. And this is all going into the new player's handbook that's going to come out next year. All right, then you choose 2 skills, tool proficiency, language, or whatever. Or they give you some sample backgrounds where you can, or if you want to choose like acolyte, it'll give you 2 wisdom and 1 intelligence. Yada yada. You can choose your own, or you can use the pre-mades as you see fit. So this has actually been in the works for a long time, and as a matter of fact, not to hurt anybody's feelings, but the half elf and the half orc, they're going away. They're not even going to be around next year. So this the Baldur's Gate 3 will be the last time you ever see a half elf or a half orc until the next iteration of Dungeons and Dragons. And the reason that I believe that they have decided to make this change happen is not because they wanted to pull the wool over your eyes or the rug out from underneath you, but it's because that Larian took as long as they did to create the game. Now, it's because of the pandemic and because of the delays, because Larian wanted to make the absolute best game possible. They took as long as they needed to make the game. And then because it is so close to the release of the new player's handbook, I believe that Mattel, who owns the IP for Dungeons and Dragons, and Wizards of the Coast, who runs Dungeons and Dragons, were decided that they wanted to have the 2 systems be as close as they could be for when the player's handbook and the monster manual and the Dungeon Master's Guide come out next year. Because if you don't know, in 2024 or 2025, Wizards of the Coast is coming out with their own digital tabletop that can be either single player or multiplayer. And so they're going to have all of this, and for all of this that you're seeing in Baldur's Gate 3, they're going to have all of that, all the modules, all the monsters, all the player characters, all that stuff. Now, not the NPCs, obviously, but they're going to have all of that stuff available for play in 2024, 2025. And so to make it less of a culture shock for the players that are playing Baldur's Gate 3 right now, if they want to play Dungeons and Dragons in the future, I believe that that is the down on high decision coming from Mattel and Wizards of the Coast. Now, you can believe what you want to believe, and you can say that it was just arbitrarily, they decided at the last minute to do it, but I don't think so. I think that they were given a deadline, and because Larian said we need more time and we want more time to make a better game, Wizards of the Coast said, okay, fine, we'll give you more time. However, if you want to do that, then we're going to require you to make it closer to the up and coming version of Dungeons and Dragons that we're going to release in 2024. So that's why I believe that all of these changes are happening. And like I said, half elf going away, half orc going away. So this will be the last time you see half elf or a half orc, unless the people go up and get up in arms and they start screaming and yelling. And by the way, dwarf, gold dwarf and shield dwarf, or mountain dwarf and hill dwarf, they're going to be the same thing. As you can see right here in the Unearthed Arcana, or in the playtest, dwarf traits they're going to have dark vision, dwarven resilience, toughness, forge wise, and stone cutting. And what it says is they're called by various names on different worlds. They're squat and often bearded, but they are the same thing. Inspired by those tales, dwarves of any culture often sing of valorous deeds, especially of the little overcoming the mighty. But they're going to be the same thing. They're going to be the same type of creature, or same type of character. It's just you're going to call them by a different name now. There's not going to be any difference between the dwarves at all in the new version. Half elf are going to be gone. Dwarves are coming together, and half orc are going to be gone, because they believe that by calling something a half whatever, it's insensitive. So it's sensitivity training coming down from on high. And I know there's a go woke, go broke mentality that's going to come along with that people are going to scream and yell about. And that's one of the reasons why they're so upset. And, rightfully so. No one likes change, but the only thing you can count on is change. So don't shoot the bearer of bad news. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just telling you, this is what I'm seeing, and these are my receipts. And so we've been playing this for the last over a year, and I'm not surprised at all that Larian was told to change it. And it's just like making a movie. Okay, think about making a movie. You have the writers, you have the director, and you have the showrunner. And Sven is the showrunner, but you have the studio who calls the shots. They have their own internal play testing, and they have their own internal goals that they want to see done. And so at the end of the day, they have all the say because they own the IP. So if Larian would have gotten done by 2021 or 2022, they probably would have been able to implement this system that they had in place. But because it took them so long and it was so close to the publication of the new content, that Mattel, Wizards of the Coast, said, we want you to make it closer to what we are going to have, so that if people want to go and play Dungeons and Dragons and they're brand new to our game, that they're going to go ahead and they're going to be able to enjoy it more. And I'm sure that's what they think. If you're an old Dungeons and Dragons player, as you know, every single iteration of every single version of Dungeons and Dragons, whether it be AD&D 3, 4, 4.5, 5, 5e, people get up in arms about the changes that are being made because they are used to a certain thing and they don't like change. People don't like change. But this is what's going to happen. And this is why it's happening. And this is why I don't think you should be mad at Larian for the changes that are being made at the last minute, because I don't believe it's their fault. I believe Sven and his team were told it was in their contract that if any changes needed to be made, that those changes would be made. And they were scrambling at the last minute to make those changes. And I think they've done an exemplary job creating the CRPG of the decade. So whether you like it, you don't like it, tell me in the comment section down below. I'm very curious to see what you think. You think my receipts are valid? Let me know. I do think that what I said is correct, and I do believe that it is being run just like a movie is being made, because really, think about how many cutscenes there are. This is really the longest movie that I'll ever watch or play or be in or experience in my entire life, most likely. So Anyway, guys, that's where I'm going to leave you. Those are my 2 cents. So hopefully you got something out of it. Hopefully it gave you a perspective that maybe you didn't have before we started this video. Thank you very much for coming in. Hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, give us a thumbs up. And as I always say, I am my usual me, be your usual you. And we'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching, guys. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.